Excited to have my next guest on the show. It's Chepe Mariscal, who will be making his UFC debut this Saturday at UFC Jacksonville when he faces Trevor Peek. Chepe, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How about you?
I'm fantastic. And I know it's fight week, man. So I just want to start there, man. How excited are you to finally be making your UFC debut?
Man, it feels good. It feels great. It's obviously like a dream come true. I obviously wanted to fight in the biggest promotions in the world, and now I am, and it feels great.
When you first got the call, what was that like? What were the emotions like? Who was the first person you told?
Well, I was in disbelief still. I was like, "Oh, is this real?" It just didn't hit me. I told one of my head striking coaches, Mike Gonzalez, and my partner, who's also a fighter, Claire Guthrie, who were there after the call, and I was just like, "Hey, man, I got the call." And they were like, "For real?" And I was like, they were obviously more excited than I was. I was more of like waiting on the contract, waiting on the flights and all that stuff. Just waiting for the all right, you're in.
I wanted to ask you too, just about your journey to get here, because I think that all the MMA hardcore fans know exactly who you are. You've been around the regional scene for a long time. You look at all of your losses. There's six professional losses.
Hmm.
Five of the six have been against fighters that's in the UFC or have been in the UFC. So you've
Hmm.
been in there with top quality competition. Did you ever feel that just because of those losses, your journey to the UFC might never come, or it would be harder to get here? Was that a mind? Was it difficult for you mentally, I guess?
Yeah, obviously, like after like the second loss, third loss, you kind of start doubting yourself. You're like, oh man, am I even at these guys' level? And then throughout the my career, I started beating dudes that went to the UFC, and then I was like, all right, well, now that kind of like motivated me to stick around, to stay in it. And I had other teammates, family, obviously some family members to like keep me in. They were like, hey man, like I know that you're good enough to be in the UFC. Some of those fights, I'm like, I wish they're in the UFC. They would have been a great fight in the UFC. An extra 50 G's right there. But we're here now.
So obviously this fight's going to be at 155. What's the weight at right now? I know we're still a couple days off from weigh-in day.
Well, I was getting ready for a 45 cut, so I'm only 5 pounds away from 55. So I feel good right now. I've been right there, so it's like yeah, 161. So I woke up this morning 161. So I was like, man, this is gonna be a good cut. I feel good. I'm hydrated. I've been training nonstop forever. So it's like, man, I'm just ready for the opportunity.
Now you fought at both lightweight and featherweight. What will be the plan once you're in the UFC? Are you going to fight at either weight class, or are you going to focus more on one?
Well, it's either weight class for sure. Like especially if it's like against another top opponent that where I'm like, man, 55, this would be a cool fight. And I love putting on a show. I even thought of like you know trying to win the title at featherweight and then trying to then go up to 55 or win it at 55 with some luck and then go down to featherweight. But I'm really trying to like see if I could get with the nutrition team with the UFC, work some things out and see if I could even try to go touch bantamweight and be like a UFC fighter touching the three different divisions like all these other greats have done.
Yeah, they say I've talked to a lot of fighters that once they get in the UFC, they go to the PI and they do all the tests
Hmm.
on you to see like if you can make 35. So that would be
Hmm.
something I imagine you probably want to do relatively soon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely after this fight. I definitely want to really expand to those kind of ideas. I would love to fight in three different weight classes. Put on a show in three different weight divisions, and that'd be cool to win three, UFC titles. Everybody's winning two UFC fighters. I mean UFC titles. So why not three?
Yeah, be the first to do that. You'd be a household name, a legend in the sport if that ever transpires, man. Well, with this being your first, UFC fight week, obviously a lot of obligations, things to do. How has it been thus far? Has it been, kind of surreal to do everything that you need to do as an official UFC fighter?
Yeah, it's crazy. To me, it's kind of the stars kind of aligned. I've worked really hard. I've fought whoever they wanted me to fight, and especially those big regional scene promotions. I never backed out of anybody. I try to fight everybody as possible. all the great guys. So it was it's just I felt I felt like everything I've been doing has just got me ready for this kind of opportunity, and I'm just enjoying the week.
What are the nerves like? Have they hit, or do you think they will hit?
I don't know. I used to get nervous, but I was like on the USA team for kickboxing, and I fought in like world championship kind of stadiums and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I think they'll hit when I'm walking into the arena, or like when my walkout song starts and suddenly I see the UFC. Like I think even it's gonna hit me hard when I'm in the canvas. Like I've had VIP seats next to the cage where I'm like, man, I know I could be in there. I know I'm gonna make it in there. And now, yeah, I, it's just very exciting. But it's like, man, this is where you belong.
Obviously, you're in Jacksonville right now. What's the weather like? How's the adjustment been since you've got there?
Well, it's very humid here, and it keeps like raining and then not raining, and then so it is a little different. But I think it's kind of easy to breathe down here. I'm from the mountains. I've been training in Denver, Colorado, so I feel like I have a lot more air here. So yeah, the adjustment is fine. I'm used to the traveling a lot. So my son, I have a 9-year-old son who lives out here in Florida. So I got used to coming traveling and spending time out here with him. So I feel like I'm marinated pretty well out here.
Perfect. Will your son be at the fights on Saturday?
No, he won't. I won't let him watch me fight yet. Like I haven't even showed him on my phone yet. I just tell him I'm a fighter. He don't even believe I'm a fighter. He's like my partner's MMA, a pro MMA fighter too, and he's like, yeah, she's the pro. Because I let him watch her fights, stuff like that. I'm kind of baby stepping him into it still. He's 9 years old. He's gonna figure it out soon, but and especially after this UFC stuff, he's gonna be like, "Oh, okay, this is actually legit."
Yeah, no, for sure. I have to imagine after you get this win, the cherry on the top would be to kind of spend some time with him and relish the a phenomenal weekend. Getting your first UFC win in your debut.
Yeah, man, that's definitely the plan right now. I have a flight from here to Philly because he moved to Philly very recently, so it's like I'm gonna fly out there, grab him, and then go to back to Denver, and then show him obviously the gym, my like where I trained, what I do, and what I've done in the cage. Like I'm definitely gonna show him my fight after.
Fantastic, man. That's awesome. You mentioned Denver, obviously Elevation, one of the best gyms on planet Earth. Your boy Neil Magny is going to be fighting on this card as well, right? He's taking on Phil Rowe. Is Neil still at Elevation?
Yeah, he is. He is.
Okay, yeah. What do you think of that matchup? How do you like it?
It's fun, man. I've always loved watching Neo fights. He's been in it for a long time. He's from the same kind of area that I was in Chicago, and everybody in Chicago knew about Neo. They talked about him all the time. And then I even when I flew out to Denver was to like really test out Elevation Fight Team when they were at a Muscle Farm facility. And after that week, suddenly TJ Dillashaw called me to fly back to help him with the Rafael Sansel fight, the second one. So then when I was out there, I just was like, oh, Neil Magny's here too. So I just stayed over there and then started telling people come through.
Yeah, and he's obviously such a veteran. He's been around the game for so long. Do you think he finishes Phil Rowe? What's your prediction for that fight?
Yeah, man, I think he does. As always, he's a hard worker. He's out conditioning all our guys in the gym. I roll with him every once in a while. He's fun. But I think he's gonna put the right tools together to end this fight for sure.
I'm excited for that fight. Also, the main event is a featherweight bout, Taporia and Emmett. Analyze that one for me if you don't mind. How do you see that main event fight playing out?
Well, if Chapora definitely, uses his boxing skills, his footwork, stays away from the power, the range of Emmett. I think he could really do some damage, touch him up and work his way in and, finish the fight. But Emmett, when he touches you, man, it's some danger, and I feel like it's either or, it's about game plan. If they stick to their game plan, they really like focus on those kind of things and see what kind of guy makes the mistake. I feel like any of those two guys, it's definitely gonna be a finish.
It's going to be a fun one, man. Let's talk about your fight. Again, UFC Jacksonville or UFC on ABC 5, however you want to shake it there. It's June
Yeah.
24th, this Saturday. You're taking on Trevor Peek. He's undefeated. And both of you guys have a lot of finishes. If I'm not mistaken, you have 9 finishes as a pro. He's got 8 in his 8 wins. What kind of a fight is this going to be? Is this going to be a barn burner, just an all out war, 50K bonus fight?
Yeah, hope man, that's what I looked at it right away when I started research. Like the day of when I found out I was gonna fight him, I started researching him, analyzing him, film work, whatever I can to really like see the opponent that I'm fighting, especially because it was like Trevor Peek. Who's like I didn't know. Like I was thinking of 45ers at the time. I was getting my weight down. I was like, all right, let's see which 45ers are gonna fall off, or you know at 55 as well, but I didn't know like they were gonna give me, Trevor Peek. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be an awesome fight, and it's a stacked prelim card. So I was like, man, I gotta really step it up. It's gonna be, and I know that guy is gonna step it up as well. He's a pumped fighter. He likes to throw out, he likes to brawl, and I like to brawl too. So it's definitely gonna be a dogfight.
Now, you got a little bit of tape to watching him. He had a good win at Contender Series. His UFC debut, he had a win against Eric Gonzalez. Were you impressed by his performances? Did you see holes in his game?
Uh, yeah, I saw some holes in his game, for sure. I obviously thought he was a good fighter, like he got finishes, against upcoming, other fighters. But I feel like my experience, the guys I fought, I feel like that's gonna do a huge factor in this fight.
You said that, obviously he's got an aggressive style, but so do you. Do you feel like on the feet, if this turns into, a back and forth slugfest, that your skill set on the feet is better than his?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've been doing a lot of striking, over the years for sure, especially at Elevation Fight Team when you got Corey Sandhagen, training right next to you. You gotta start moving like him. So I felt like, I have the right people around me for the striking battles. I've been grappling with some of the best. So I felt like everything kind of just got me ready for anything, any kind of call. I'm not scared to fight anybody. I feel like even my team is like, man, we're not scared of anybody that you fight because we know the way your preparation goes and how you are, and like I can say so many things before the fight, but once the cage closes and they say fight, man, boom, it just turns on.
And obviously, now that you're in the UFC, Chepe, you can't bet. Were you someone that pays attention to odds and does a little gambling on fights before this?
I actually don't. I never put money down. It's funny because I have a lot of friends who ask me, and some of them I helped, and I'm like, hey man, can you cut me some, bread? Like, come on, I helped you out, like, and and yeah, right now I've been getting like people have blown up my phone about the plus and odds, the favorites, and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm not a big bettor, so it was just it's funny to be part of the betting now, like, but some of the fights is like previous fights in the regional scene, people were like, oh, thanks for the extra bucks and stuff like that. Oh, you got to finish in the second round, like, appreciate it. When I see you, I'm gonna take you out to eat.
Right.
That's never happened, by the way, but yeah, it's just yeah, I haven't looked at it like that.
Okay, I know some fighters pay attention to the odds, and if they're the underdog, it fires them up even more. I was looking at the odds a couple of days ago, and then I just looked at it recently today. Initially, you were a plus 150 dog. Peak was a minus 175 favorite, and now it's essentially a pick 'em. I think there's a lot of money that's coming in on you. Do you feel like you deserve to be the dog, or do you feel like just when you look at your skills at versus his that I should be the favorite here? I'm going to go in and win this fight.
Well, it's my debut. I feel like, yeah, I'm obviously going to be the underdog, and then there's a lot of Peak fans that are like, "Oh yeah, like Peak's going to do it," and he's obviously on a tear right now, 8-0, 8 finishes. So obviously he's going to have his fans on that. Um, I like being the underdog. I like showing people like, "Hey, I'm not like I'm going in as a nobody, but I'm gonna show you I'm a somebody."
Give me your official prediction. How does this fight end? How do you get your hand raised?
Man, my goal is to finish the guy. You know, I've been doing a lot of preparation, a lot of studying on the guy. You know, I see that little bit of holes on his end that I catch on other dudes. Like even in my training room, where I'm like, all right, I think this I could really finish this fight.
And with your new contract, I imagine it's a standard contract to someone that's new into the UFC. How active are you trying to stay this year? As long as you're healthy, how many fights would you like to get?
Hopefully two this year or three. Man, I'm just trying. Like I've been always try to stay active, even in the regional scene. When I was fighting, I was like, man, I love competing. I love fighting. You know, I love just being able to keep doing this. You know, I know I'm not going to do this for a very long time. You know, I'm thinking like 38, 40, I'm done. You know, so I'm like, man, I gotta do what I can right now, get the experience. I do want to die as a legend in this sport, so yeah, that's the goal right now.
I love it, man. I'm excited to see you compete this Saturday. Again, Chepe Mariscal meets Trevor Peek this Saturday at UFC Jacksonville. Fantastic interviewing you for the first time, my man. I really appreciate it. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. Tell people where they can follow you on social media. If you have anyone to thank, anything to plug, the floor is yours.
So my social media stuff would be like Chepe Machine Gun Mariscal or at Chepe Machine Gun. I like to thank all my supporters, all the Chepe fans. I like to thank my team back home, Elevation Fight Team, my cornerman, my girlfriend, Claire Guthrie, and yeah, and that's all.